Okay.
G'day everyone and welcome to the preview of Betfair, William Hill, Ladbroke Park, Sandown Cup Day. Potts, nice to see you again, mate. We've survived the week at Flemington through plenty of high water there on Thursday and a biased track. But now we're heading out to a track that has had 4 meetings on it in 6 months, has had perfect growing conditions. There shouldn't be anything wrong with this track. It should be absolutely spot on, shouldn't it?
No excuses. So if we don't get a very fair and a good surface for Saturday, I don't know what they're going to say because, the completely fresh start for the track manager out there. So anyway, we just have to approach the meeting expecting a completely even surface and see how we go.
Well, normally on the hillside, it doesn't hurt to be 1 or 2 off the rail, does it?
Yeah, particularly, once it gets a bit of racing, they start to get out off the fence, and wind can help make that happen too. But there are some wide lanes out there that can be an advantage, and they'll probably come into play later in this card. But you can. Sandown's a funny track because they sort of don't. They come around the corner there, and they don't release the brake straight away. So the leaders can sort of, if there is a need to get off the fence, the leaders tend to be able to do it.
Yeah, that old dip there. They used to wait till they're until they go. So
yeah.
It should be fair racing because we haven't had a lot of that over the last few weeks, so hopefully we can get a fair surface and we can nail it.
So before we start, John, we should have just talk a bit about the carnival. It was, for our followers, it was okay. We had a winning day, Derby Day. We lost a small amount on Cup Day, small win Oaks Day, and then another fairly small loss on the last day. So we sort of kept our wicket intact, but we couldn't really hit the bullseye. So I've left no stone unturned to see if we can't hit a couple of bullseyes here at this meeting.
It's just a grind, Potts, and the track bias. Like we sort of, if you're in the chat room, it helped because we came round it with as quickly as we could, but it was hard to predict it. And Mick Goody himself admitted that he made a blow, so
yeah.
You've just got to say, well, he made a mistake, and hopefully they learn from it. And that's sort of the 3 main city tracks that we've had so far that have all had some sort of bias at some stage of the carnival. So hopefully that gets sorted out for next year. But this track should be fair, and it's a good betting card. Like
it is.
They're deep fields, and the weather looks like there might be some rain around Potts, but hopefully if there is, all that means that he doesn't have to get the water truck out.
Yeah, no, we should be right on race day, so everything should be fine.
We kick off with the Santa's Magical Kingdom Stakes over 1,000 metres for the 2-year-olds. We've got Jackson at $12, Los Cabos at $12, Perpetual Crisis $8, Miss Rock $3.30, Motown Lil $4.80, and Sweet Varden at $4.80. Is there enough to work with here, Potts?
Yes and no. So there's 3 runners that I haven't been able to find anything on. So that's the Weir runner, Perpetual Crisis, one from Kyneton, who's quite long odds, and Soviet Secret, trained by Sam Pritchard Gordon. However, I'm prepared to bet in this race because we have got 2 horses coming through a particularly strong 2-year-old race.
Yep.
The race on Cup Day, I think it was, won by Concealer. They ran really good figures there, and I would think any of these first starters will have to be very smart to compete with Miss Rock and Motown Lil. So Motown Lil showed a lot of dash in that race, went to the front. She probably had a slight advantage of the bias, but she'll take benefit from that run, and she'll probably get loose in the lead here because she's pretty speedy. Whereas Miss Rock will sort of be back on the inside, sort of looking for some gaps. So they tend to come at the 1,000 metre track at Sandown. It's a dog leg, and they tend to spread across. So more often than not, you can get out from a sort of what could be a tight position. I think they're both well and truly backable in the early market. I'm surprised they're such good odds. Sweet Varden looks to be just a fringe player. Off fair sort of trial form, but she was a long way behind Concealer in a trial. It's hard enough to do with the Weir runner, and the other trialers don't look to have much to offer at all to me. So, and the other 2 come through the Moonee Valley race. That's emphatically and preemptive. I wouldn't be. I'm not worried about them, so happy to take them on. So I think it's a good betting race. Back both Miss Rock and Motown Lil, and I think you'll be very hard to beat.
And maybe just be careful in case the money comes on Perpetual Crisis for Weir, because he does have a bit of a habit of these unexposed 2-year-olds then come around and they decide they want to have something on them. So
yeah, it'd need to be good.
But on form, no, that's clearly the form race. And Tony McAvoy said on the radio this morning that his two are at least 2 or 3 lengths behind Concealer at home.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
that sort of gives you some idea. Race 2 is the City of Dandenong Stakes over 1400. Queen of Wands is $6. Indara $7.50. Arata $8. One for the race callers there. $7.50 Northern Model. Russian Empress $8. Mike Ondessa $5.50. Change Sister $8.50.
Yeah, look, I did this race and sort of thought, tricky race, but the way the market's structured, I sort of feel compelled to get involved here. I'm taking a bit of a set against that Flemington race that Don't Doubt Mama won.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Doubt Mama, but she raced against the bias that day and put an absolute hole in these other fillies.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the other fillies that come through that Flemington race are struggling. Now, the one that I backed in that race was Arata. She's now third up with blinkers on, and she's a filly I've had a bit of time for, but she was poor in that Flemington race. She sort of got on the Don't Doubt Mama's back, and she just did nothing late. So I think the blinkers are more a desperate throw at the stumps than anything else. I mean, I'd be filthy if she got up and beat me here, but I can't back her off that run. So I've gone looking for the improvers coming to town off the provincial runs, and there's a few good ones here. So start with Russian Empress, who was sort of just fair first up, but she went like a rocket second up at Cranbourne.
Yeah.
She ran pretty slick early sectionals, and she got quicker as the race went on. She finished that. She really hit the line, ran right through the line. So that's a perfect setup to step up to 1400. So she seems to be a very good price to me. Mike and Dessa also went really well on debut, but she was just far too good for Indara, who then went and ran pretty well in that Flemington race.
Yeah.
The only problem with Mike and Dessa is she's only having a second start, and she's 24 days between runs. So, I mean, this is a stable that tends to do that. So it's probably okay to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'd be keener on her if she was staying at 1200 or maybe even 1300. But stepping up to 1400 off that break sort of is not easy. But she's obviously talented, so she's in there. And Change Sister, who's by the name you can tell she's full sister to Moment of Change. She was only fair first up, but second up she improved, albeit in a race where they ran really soft early sectional. So she only had to put the foot to the accelerator in the second half of that race, but she did it in good style, and she's got something to offer, but it's hard to know what her levels are. Whereas Russian Empress has actually stamped herself as quite a good filly here. So
that was an impressive win there, and she was unlucky to start before a Pakenham too, if I recall. I don't know whether you had a look at that tape, Potts. She only just got beat there, and she did look a good thing there at Cranbourne the other night.
Yeah, she went around a backable price too.
Yeah. Race 3 is the time-honoured Keffin Heaven and Stakes over 1300. We've got Smoke and Joey $5.50, Famous Seamus $8.50, General Life $3.40, Under the Loop $3.20, and the rest of the double figures bring me the maid probably next best at $13, Java $14.
Yeah, interesting race because a few of those have sort of met each other throughout this prep. I did this race, marked sort of Under the Louvre a pretty clear favourite, went to the market expecting to see that, and when I first looked, General Leaf was actually favourite, which shocked me. I think that's been sort of taken care of a little bit, but the early price Under the Louvre was almost too good to be true here. It seems suspicious, but his last 2 runs, he struck Vashka at Caulfield.
Yeah.
Caulfield is a perfect track for a horse like Vashka. A horse like him is going to be hard to beat on that kind of track.
Yeah.
Under the Louvre did a good job to run into a fairly narrow margin, and then Under the Louvre ran into that 1200 metre race at Flemington with the last race of the day. Everyone knew the bias. Horses were written outside of their pattern. Him and General Leaf sort of went to the line untested.
Yeah.
Sort of means nothing really. It's just a tick over run, and now he comes to a 1300 metre race on a track where you'll be able to run on.
Yep.
We hope.
Yep. And he gets Zara back on.
Zara back on.
Like, no pot on the gun, but
Yeah.
Zara was flying before he got suspended.
He's a horse where 1200 tends to be too short for him. 1400 is just a little bit too far. Here we are, 1300. I mean, this is just such a good race for this horse. He just looks a really good bet. You know, if you can get that 5-2, that was there. That's just a really nice price to take. General Leaf, I can see how people will compare their runs with Flemington and say, oh, he might be going better than Under the Louvre, but I think that's a stretch, to be honest. I think the SPs are a better guide, and General Leaf, to me, is a couple of lengths better horse, the Sydney way of going. So he was down the straight there at Flemington. This time he's got to go around a bend, and he ran third or fourth in this race last year when he was perfectly set up, and he lost it on the turn. So to me, I wouldn't be interested in General Leaf at his current price. The horse that's got position here to do something in this race is Bring Me the Maid. She's actually shown good early pace in both of her runs this time in. She'll be in front of the favourites here. She's third up, plus 100 metres. That's a good combo. There's sort of a lot of good things to like about her. The only thing not to like about her is all of her peak form is in Sydney on wet tracks. So you've sort of got to take the leap of faith. Can she produce something like a best at Sandown on a good track? But she's got the position to do something, and I think at the odds, you'd be better off having her on your side. There's other chances in this race, so it should be a pretty good betting race. But
what about Smoke at Joey Potts? I know Wes Hunter was saying on the radio yesterday or today that he was really happy with him and looking potentially to take him back to Perth, and he sort of has run well off the freshen up, and he's probably short enough at the 550, but he does seem to be one that I seem to run into. But normally it's at a bigger price when he does tend to knock me off. So
on his best form, he'd be in this race. Like 1300 is probably he has won a fast run. What's that big race in Adelaide? The 1200 metre race.
Goodwood?
The Goodwood. He has won a Goodwood, hasn't he? I suppose if you give him the benefit of the doubt, he'll probably be running on strongly here, but he's going to have to run past horses like... He might be in the same part of the field as Under the Louvre, and because he likes racing wide, he might get into the race before Under the Louvre does.
Yeah.
Right? So that's okay. But he's still got to run past other... I suppose, to me, he's a fringe chance here.
Yeah. He's certainly not a 550 chance, is he?
Well, not unless you... it's hard to... You could mark him 550 if you were certain he was going to do his absolute best.
Yeah.
But that to me seems a bit of a stretch when he's needed to be freshened up off what was a failed campaign, really.
Well, that's where Warren Huntley's mounting guard mail helps, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And if you are in the PBL chat room with us, you can fire that in, and I'm sure I'll probably be asking what he looks like so that we can get an idea. Maybe if it's not even for this week, it's potentially going forward if he does go for some of those bigger races in Perth. But yeah, it's an interesting race, that one, and it's sort of symptomatic of this sort of card, isn't it? Where there's the form that's dotted through the carnival, and it's just trying to line it all up. So
exactly. You got a lot of wishy-washy horses here that you could make a case for. But Under the Louvre, just rubber stamp, bang, he's going to run a good race, and this is a perfect race for him. So
and it just sets up brilliantly for him. So
there you go.
Race 4 is the Sandown Stakes over 1,500 metres. We've got Charmed Harmony 550, Missy Utopia 8, Acheron 12, Hosting 11, Good Project 280, Burning Front 12, Tashby 950.
Yep, here we go again. Same sort of scenario as the previous race. Charmed Harmony will get out and do his thing. He's a winning chance, but he's sort of been up since April.
Yeah.
And he was tortured by what's the horse with the bar plates? Art Lee. He was tortured by Art Lee at Flemington, then carted off the track. So it's a bit hard to be too harsh on him on that run, but how many peak runs can you produce? So I think he's a bit short. Tashby's there to run another good race. Ninth Legion's a horse I'm interested in this race. He's a big price. 1,500 metres is his distance.
Yep.
He'll slot into a perfect trailing position here, and he'll run a good race. He'll run a much better race than his $15 would suggest. But a lot like Under the Louvre, his Good Project just in good form coming into a perfect race. The wide draw here for him is perfect. You can just sort of roll forward and slot him where the gap opens up for him.
Yep.
And he'll just stalk them. I mean, he put in the huge run on Cup Day behind Malaguera, who's obviously flying. And he dropped 6 kilos, which will get a lot of the computer programs interested.
He had the huge impost of 61 kilos, Potts.
It's terrible, isn't it? Almost cool. So, I mean, he picks himself, and he's a backable price on the early market. So, he looks another nice one-out sort of bet to me, if that's the way you want to play things.
He is one that would appeal to the robots, wouldn't it?
It's just
it'd be short on the toe.
Tick, tick, tick. There is one horse I'll just mention here. Not that I'm tipping it, I don't know anything about it, but when I was doing the form, I marked him $67 and then went to the market. It was 200 to 1. So, I mean, I could have a ticket on this horse at 200 to 1. Our Positive Move, he's an import with not a terrible record. It just seems like a outrageously big price for a horse that no one really has a handle on. So, just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, it's like
Sorry, Jappy, I'm going to... Hayfever's got me again, mate.
Just having a look at it, our Positive Moves international form, like he got beaten 12 lengths last start in the Midsummer Stakes over there at Windsor. Windsor's a very tricky track. It's like a figure-8 track. A lot of horses don't particularly handle it, and this horse won its maiden at St Cloud and ran second at Chantilly. They're big, wide galloping tracks. He was a little bit disappointing at Ascot. But he's probably not a 200 to 1 shot in this race, and I think they've just sort of half written him off based on the fact that they probably don't know what price he should be.
Well, you get some of these price assessors, they get down to the bottom horse in the field, and they don't want to take up any more percentage, so they put as big a price as they can beside it, and
they haven't seen him.
Exactly.
So he's first up for 10 months, but he's lightly raced and. It's not going to cost you much to find out, is it, Potts?
If he wins at 200 to 1, I'll be winning on this race.
So will I. Because I'm not laying any more 100 to 1 shots anymore. Race 5 is the Quay Clean Zipping Classic over 2400. Some of the usual suspects here, Potts. We've got Dandino 320. Some of these off the barrier trial that was the Melbourne Cup. Who Shot the Barman 5. Sartorius 21. Tall Ship 650. Rising Romance 330, $10 Kira Mimosa.
Yeah, so I wonder if any of those people that were excited by the Melbourne Cup, whether they're going to use it as a form reference. Is it a useful form reference? That's the question.
Well, the thing is, if you took Melbourne Cup away and you looked at a slowly run 3,200 metre race where they've sprinted home the last 2 furlongs, you'd normally bin it.
When 2/3 of the field were dramatically bias affected. I mean,
and on a biased track. Like, you just put the pen through it half the time. More than half the time.
Well, I would suggest anyone looking at the Melbourne Cup form pay much closer attention to the SPs than they do to the finishing positions. The finishing positions in the Melbourne Cup are useless. Anyway, here we go. This is a race. I'm sort of probably not going to bet in this race because these are horses that I don't seem to get right very often, this group of horses here. I'm not particularly excited by either of the Weir runners, and they'll probably run the Quinella, so that's why I feel like it's probably a good race for me to stay out of.
Well, the thing with Dandino, I reckon, it's like he was half a non-winner coming in the last week and found the weakest staying race. Like, that Queen's Cup wasn't... Like, he really should have won it for the form that he was in, but like, got beaten in the Geelong Cup, beaten in the Turnbull. Like, he's been running well, but yeah, it's a hard race to bet in because they're all over the shop and you can pick holes in all of them.
Yeah, well, it was a fairly slowly run race, and he sort of just sat on the back of the favourite there and out sprinted him. But he's sort of going to get the same sort of run here again, and so he'll probably be chasing Rising Romance this time though, and she won't be as easy to out sprint.
Yeah.
So she's sort of likeable in this race, but I don't know if that McKinnon form's... Her run sort of looked okay. Like, she ran up to win on the wrong part of the track.
Yeah.
But there were so many horses in behind that just weren't getting a shot, so I don't know if it's form or not. On paper, she's top pick, I think, but I'm not sure quite comfortable with that. It's just not enough. like her preparation's been a bit all over the place. She's had a couple of really poor runs, and then she puts in a better looking run in the Turnbull. I mean, in the McKinnon. So yeah, and Who Shot the Barman's, he's looked to be a horse that's been going well. Prep. Aimed exclusively at the Melbourne Cup, and then you get there and he's not given a chance by a ride completely lacking initiative. So
yeah, well,
given the track played, it shouldn't have played the way it did, but it did. And it meant he couldn't be wide on that track, and he just sat wide the whole way and gave himself no chance on a soft tempo. So you're better off just ignoring that run. And Who Shot the Barman on his Caulfield Cup run is. I would think a better chance in this race on paper than Dandino. So I'm sort of feeling like Rising Romance is going to sit outside the lead, hit the front. They'll be coming after her, and if I'm backing any horse in this race to come after her, I'd rather back Who Shot the Barman. But it just feels like a trap race to me, and I probably am not going to get involved.
Yeah, it's the usual suspects. Race 6 is the Eclipse Stakes over 1800. We've got Puccini at 26, Rudy 15. Jacques Bay 12, Malice 5, Worthy Cause 6, Scream Machine 8, Casino Dance at $9.50. Thought the course $16, probably the best of the rest. Might have a bit of a tail, I think, this field here, Potts.
Yeah, it's a better betting race.
Yeah. I'm
surprised at the early market here. To me, Worthy Cause sort of just picks himself, doesn't he? He's got form all around Turn Me Loose.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any better form going around than that, really?
No. And Dittman riding again, who rode him, that was a gem, that ride at Turnbull Stakes Day.
Yeah.
So
he's riding well every time he's sat on him. So Williams was on him for one of those runs at Caulfield, but and that was the Vashka race. That was a good race too. So he's, the trainer's convinced this is his distance range. He just can pop straight into the box seat here and just mind his own business and beyond him. He looks like a horse that should be a clear favourite to me, and they're betting $7 in the early market. That looks to be tremendous betting value. I can't find a hole in the case for this horse, so he just looks a clear top pick. Once you get beyond him, it's pretty even. The only more regular race goer in the country than Glenn Pollitt would be Casino Dancer. She goes to the races as much as Glenn does.
Well, she's dizzy from going round, I think.
Here she is again, but since she's had the blinkers go on, she's put in 3 tremendous runs. She won that really high rating fast race at Randwick, then she ran well after that when she was entitled to be flat, and then she ran a terrific race behind Lucia Valentina last week when she was in the wrong part of the track. You can't really criticise the rider there, but it just wasn't the right ride for the race, even though he didn't have a choice, so it wasn't his fault. It was just the way that things panned out. Her run was fantastic, so she has to go in there. Jacqueline Bay, his biggest issue here, Jacqueline Bay, is Michael Walker, because Jacqueline Bay wants to go along at a solid tempo. He's got no sprint. He's just a one battle. That he can get other horses off the beat, and he can be hard to run down. Now, last start in the race Awesome Rock won, Walker went 10 lengths below average. Yeah. So
it's not
going to help. He's not going to win a race like that. So he needs a jockey here that'll let him run along at a above average tempo, and if that happens, he's got a chance. Tristram's son is a Sandown specialist, and he's coming back to Sandown off a win at Kyneton, so he's got to be some kind of hope. Although I think 1800s. He's won a longer race at Kyneton, but I think he's really probably a 14 to 1600 metre horse, to be honest. But he is coming back to his favourite track. Malice would have to be a chance. Lord Athenaeum would be a chance. Scream Machine. So there are other horses that'll get attention here. So that sort of betting value we talked about Worthy Cause is probably going to be there or thereabouts.
They have to put percentage against some of the other runners, so you're just getting a bigger price about your pick, really, aren't you? There, Potts.
Yeah. There are several 100 to 1 shots here. Asylum Puccini, Calvin Williams, Desert Journey's not going. Cadillac Mount's probably too early for him. Rudy's struggling. Slade on Edge is an interesting runner back from the Greys. If you believe that form, he gets the big weight drop here, and but I think 1800 will test Slade on Edge, and I think that Greys form's no good. So.
It's hard to trust when they're restricted races like that. Race 7 is the William Hill Sandown Guineas over 1600. Delsh Yellows $10, Mahuda 6, Demonstrate 9, Patch Adams 12. He's our Roki 8. Gamu is $8.50. Don't Doubt Mama $3.90 and $13 Zafiki.
Here's that form I was talking about with Don't Doubt Mama. Like, there's nothing wrong with her win at Flemington. What she did was good, but I'm saying the fillies behind her.
Yeah.
So she was a bit. She did it against the bias, but it's sort of a bit flattering because she's just, to me, beating slow. So I'm not necessarily knocking her here. I'm just going to leave her out.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm going to approach the race. Not an easy race, and not a race I want to get overly excited about, although there is a horse here I want to back. I'm a bit disappointed they didn't put him up double figures, but such is life. I think He's Our Roki has been just crying out for a race on a big track. Run a decent tempo. He just keeps running in the races where, he was wide no cover at Moonee Valley in the race that Sovereign Nation won. Then he was in the walking race at Caulfield. That
Mr.
Individual one. It was just a sprint home over 400 metres. So, and then he raced completely against the bias last week at
Flemington, where he beat by Mahuda.
He went back to last. He was wide on the track, where as things turned out, you could not possibly be.
Quicksand.
And he's only been beaten
1.1.
Yeah, it's really is quite a big run. And I would think out of that race, I'd almost be surprised if he doesn't beat Mahuda home here. Even though the map doesn't look particularly friendly for him, that's the sort of thing I'm not going to worry about in a track like Sandown. So, he's the horse I want to back for sure. He's Our Roki. Mahuda's hard to knock. Since he's had the blinkers go on, he's just towed him up at Kyneton, and he come to town and was too good for Holler. Then he did everything he needed to do to win the race at Flemington last week. You can't really knock him. So he seems to be a pretty rock solid on pace runner here that is easy to back. Delcello is hard to assess. I mean, he was sort of given no chance in the Caulfield Guineas the way it turned out, and he's a bad parader. He gets very hot in the yard, so he's one that you want to listen to Warren be in the chat room or something, because if he happens to parade really well and he's conserving his energy, giving himself a chance, he's got the ability to win this race. There's no question about that.
Well, I think there's one certainty. There'll be less people at Sandown than on Saturday than what there were at Caulfield and Caulfield Guineas Day.
Yeah. So whether that's just the horse or whether it is the who knows? But so that could well be the case, Juppy. It's a good point you raised. So I'm sort of a bit against Demonstrate. I don't think he's going to a miler. Nagara Milt's probably just coming a bit too soon for him, but I'm not sort of potting him. Patch Adams looked okay at Flemington, but he just doesn't settle, this horse, so he's hard to back with any confidence. So anyway, I'm going to leave Don't Doubt Mama out. He's Our Roki's the horse I want to back.
Race 8 is the William Hill Sandown Cup over 2 miles at 3,200. We've got the Office 6, Al Moonquith 460, Grand Marshal 750, Precedence 50, the Little Engine 550, Like a Carousel 13, Maygrove 8, Renew 19, Trimex 16, and the rest are all big odd spots. This is more Melbourne Cup form for us.
Yeah, well, it's good of some of those runners to have used the Melbourne Cup as a lead-up for this, isn't it, really?
That's what half of them did. They've just had it shows the market's almost telling you what they think of the Melbourne Cup form with the Little Engine, who hasn't come through the Cup, who's come just through a benchmark 96. Well, he's favourite.
Yes, it's a race I'm not particularly excited about, I've got to be honest. I'm not interested at all in the Little Engine.
Too short.
Yeah. He was beautifully ridden to win at 2,800 metres on Cup Day.
Yeah.
And I think that journey really tests him. So if they actually go a genuine 2 miles here, I think he'll struggle. But that's no guarantee. But looks like Manlapan, Pop and Scotch and Tremec will get up front, and hopefully they'll run it at a reasonable tempo. Maygrove's a bit of a one-pacer, so I think he'll push the pace a bit too. So I think we'll get a test here, which should bring the better horses to the fore. So to me, the three obvious chances are Albion Quith, The Offer and Grand Marshal. Which order you put them in is really up to you, but if you trust the SPs out of the Melbourne Cup, you have to have Albion Quith on top. The Offer was the better run there, but I don't know if that means anything. And Grand Marshal's a 2-miler, so...
And you just forget that even when, like, as with some of those ones, it's just track was biased, it was farcically run, you've just got to, I don't know why you make it a Potts, it's just hard to draw any conclusions out of it, isn't it?
Well, the 2800 metre race on the same day, right, really, they should run about 24 to 25 seconds quicker. We're going to do some quick maths here, but I think it was more like 30 seconds quicker. Is the reality of it. Where's the little engine?
He's ready.
They've run 2:54.63, and the Melbourne Cup they've gone 3:23. So what have we got there? We've got 6 seconds and 29 seconds.
Yeah.
That it just shows you that.
Yeah, they've run
an inferior race, and then they've run like in the order of 10 lengths quicker. It's crazy.
All you got to do is go back and have a look at the tape of the Melbourne Cup, have a look at them go down the back straight, and it was a hat canner. So there was always going to be plenty of forgive runs, and it was the bias track, and I'm just glad it's over, Potts.
It was a beautiful ride by Michelle Payne. Well done, Michelle.
20 out of 10.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant ride by Michelle. Like the thing with Michelle that I find is, Potts, is that if she rides for luck like that, she's very good. Mm-hmm. But if she needs to lead round Mildura on a Monday on a $1.60 shot trained by a brother, well, she might have 3 of those and 2 of them will get beat.
Yeah, well, I don't want to back them. So for people that want to exclusively mark Michelle Payne on that ride, they can back her and
go for your life. You can back her with me.
When she's on a 5 to 2 chance, it has to be ridden to dominate the race.
Yeah, then
I'll be happy to make my own decisions on Michelle Payne.
Yeah, but for that ride there in the Cup, brilliant. And Weary, well, that's why he's the best. Race 9 is the Lapine Funerals. Could be a few of us that need them. With the Summon Stakes over 1,500, we've got Solicit 850, Tycoon Tara 15. Sorry, Solicit 850, Tycoon Tara 15. Coronation Shallow, who's a favourite of ours, Potts at 12. Scarlet Billows 5. Cheese Clean 7. Mini Downs 26. Precious Gem 16. Ballet Sweet 9. $9 Magia. Into the Mist 850. And Big Price is the rest.
Yeah, well, typical mares race, plenty of chances, but 2 of them sort of stand out a bit to me. Solicit was really good first up, a little bit flat second up, but wasn't terrible, and she'll get up on pace here, and she's the mare to beat, really, I think. And equally, I would think, Coronation Shalon used the bias to win at Moonee Valley, but she beat the rest of them comfortably. It was only Ascadelia, who is just airborne, that sort of made her look a bit ordinary. But she went out of that race, Coronation Shalon, went into the mile race on the last day in the Emirates, and she's only been beaten a bit over 3 lengths. It's an enormous run coming to this, so she's got to back up.
As 100 to 1 shot, Potts. Like they didn't expect anything of her last week.
Yeah.
And she's been beaten 3.6 in a race like that. Well, if you put Termy loose in this race, I don't think it has a price, does it?
No, it doesn't, and it wins by 5. So there you go. That puts her a length and a half in front of the rest. So 1,500 metres is perfect for her. She doesn't quite get a mile.
Yeah.
1,500 is ideal. She'll race on pace here, and it's only a flat run that'll keep her out of it, and she's double figure odds. It just seems to me to be an extraordinary early price.
Well, that's about the 3rd time in a row she's been those are like, what did we take? 13 or 13.50 or something at Moonee Valley. She's SP 750.
Yeah.
I think it's just the unfashionable stable and the unfashionable jock a little bit that just helps us get the sort of 2 rolls over the what it probably should be.
Well, there's a lot to like about it here. Like Scarlet Billows sort of is Darren Weir, so you don't want to knock Darren Weir trained runners. It's a dangerous business, but there's a hollowness to her. I'm just anyway. I wouldn't be surprised to see her win the race, but she's favourite, and that surprises me. Ballet Sweet's in the race. She's been in and scratched though, and it's she's sort of getting hard to back with confidence. Ballet Sweet, even though I think she's a winning chance. I think, what price did you rate her Into the Mist, Juppy? I haven't even looked at that.
Into the Mist was $8.50.
Oh well, I found her. She was heavily affected by the bias last start, but $8.50 is certainly not a spoil. So I wouldn't be surprised to see her run a good race though. Tycoon Tara's coming off the good win in the China Bowl. She was heavily backed, so not really knocking her, although I don't think 1500's really a her go. I think 1500's 100 metres too far for She's Clean. Anyway, a typical mares race, but I certainly think backing Solicit and Coronation Salon's a good idea in this race.
Well, another good idea, Potts, is to make sure you get your set and spend the $99 and pop in the PBL chat room where you get Potts' set and you get Johnny Walder's set, he's been having a real good run lately, hasn't he, Potts? Like all through the carnival, he's just really got his eye in at the minute. So, and it does take out a lot of the variance when you're betting the two stakes, because it's very rare that both sets will go no good. It's just very rare. And then not only that, in the chat room you also get Warren Huntley, his views from the Melbourne Mounting Yard, and Dallas has been on fire up there in Sydney too. He's been such a help. He's really hitting his straps, his Dale, with the stuff that he's been spotting out of the yard. And you can also, I think this might be the last weekend of Carnival with him in Vince or something. I know they haven't got too long left, but like some of the stuff he's been putting up there as well, it's just been phenomenal. So it's $99 well spent, isn't it, Potts?
Well, absolutely. I'm glad I'm in there, Joe, because I can tell you the last 3 weeks I haven't done any Sydney form, just haven't had time. And I've been, just from what I've been observing in the Pro Better Life chat room, making small books on Betfair based on a combination of who Johnny's tipping, what Mark Lambourne's selections are, and then with Dallas's late information. And I've just had the last 3 weeks have been absolute fill-up. They've just been finding winner after winner at really good odds, so which sort of seems unusual for Sydney, but there's been some great. The Melbourne Cup Day in Sydney was unbelievable. They were just particularly Dallas from the yard. He was just spotting them, like Tantat, whatever it was in the last race, the best parader of the day, and he salutes at $9, and Tra Schwa, whatever it was, Johnny tipped at his best of the day, and Dallas came in and said, well, if it's your best of the day, this thing cannot parade better. Let's get on this, and it bolted in at $6.50, I think it was. And then last Saturday, they were all keen on the last winner, even though we'd only just fell in, and there was a couple of others. It was just, I think Johnny found Rule the River, and then the following race Dallas found the next one, and they were both in that $6-7 range. So it's been both Dallas and John have been doing fantastic work. It's a pleasure to watch.
And that shows how well they did do last week, because it was tough to make money out of those fields at Canterbury last week, because they were small fields. They've got bigger fields this week, from what I've just glanced my over at Rose Hill, which is similar to what they had at Cup Day at Randwick. So it looks a good betting meeting there. The Sydney betting ring is always competitive, so it's not as if they're not going to get down to low figures and whatnot. So it's definitely worth your while. And now it's sort of we get back into the rhythm now, don't we, Potts? Like it's back to the regular 9 races in Melbourne on a Saturday with decent fields. Hopefully they're dry tracks with no bias, and we should be able to just roll on into the summer now. So hopefully we can get some summer weather, Potts, and I don't have to put up with more rain like I did on Oaks Day.
First of all, I'd imagine both Dallas and John will be licking their lips looking forward to that Rose Hill meeting.
Yep.
And second of all, what you just said about what happens next with with the carnival's over. To me, these sort of 9 race cards where we can find 7 or 8 races to bet in.
Yep. Back
5 or 6 winners. By backing 2 or 3 runners in a race. That's the sort of thing that my method is all about. And when you get to the carnival stuff, particularly Flemington, we get the really big fields. Yes, you can have massive fill-up days, but the risk profile of those meetings is a lot higher, because you just can't you can't cover as many bases. You have to leave horses out that you know have got a good chance, and you're trying to back the horses that are have the best edge in them. But at the end of the day, it's a bit fraught.
Yeah.
Because particularly then when you add on to it, you get a bit of bias on the track or lucky running type things. But these type of situations where you get back to stock standard fields, there's usually about 5 chances in the race, and if you can sort of isolate which are the 3 better ones and just back all 3 to make a margin, that's my stock and trade really.
And that's where we'll just keep grinding out profits, and it's a week after week after week thing. The only time you ever have your last bet's where they've dug a 6-foot hole for you and they're lowering you into the ground. Other than that, there's never a last race. So you just keep grinding away, and that's what we'll be doing here over the coming weeks, won't we, Potts? So, just one other thing, I just want to thank everyone on behalf of myself and Potts and Doltz and Dan Kelly we had unbelievable numbers. Watch that Melbourne Cup preview. So thanks everybody for taking the time. Like, it was an hour and 5 minutes. Like, we enjoyed doing it. I'm glad plenty of people watched it. So we'll definitely be organising something to do that next year. So thanks everybody for taking the time to watch that. I
certainly enjoyed doing it. I think we should, every time there's a feature race that's going to get a bit of interest, Juppy, we should try and do that. We'll try
we'll get the
4 of us together. So maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah, like we might get them back towards maybe come the autumn for a couple of those meetings over the autumn. We'll get those boys, or there's a couple of others that we've always got a couple floating around, don't we, Potts? There's a few good boys down here that all have opinions, and that was one thing that Kingsley mentioned in his review of the carnival, was the fact that Crownbet, where Aussie and a few of my mates work, they showed that they were happy to take an opinion and they were prepared to back it in. And what we've both noticed is that they then drag the market out with them. Like, the corporate environment's so competitive now that if they've taken a set against one, it drifts quickly, and it can get big. So
there was some good fiery action there over the carnival. Crownbet was the chief instigator, and they were regularly ahead of the fair, which is good to see. And back from the dead, Centrebet were taking some really interesting positions in the bigger races. So I hope that sort of thing continues. It's good for everyone, get everyone betting. The corporates, hopefully, they're starting to realise that the best thing that can happen is everyone betting, not trying to stop people from betting.
No, and it just goes around and around. Like,
that's it.
On a smaller level, I did probably one of the best pieces of business I've ever done last Saturday at Balnarring Potts. I ran over and backed a horse at $4.40 with the bloke, and he ran over 2 minutes later and backed it back with me at $3. So if there's anyone else who wants to do that sort of business, you can come and see us. But anyway, it should be a cracking day out there at Sandown. It's the 50th anniversary of the course, so it should be a good day. The track should play fair. The weather hopefully will be all right, and there'll be plenty of winners. And I'll be joining Potts and all the boys in the chat room. So hopefully everyone can join us there, and you'll get both sets. And Potts, I'll see you next week when we preview. Ballarat Cup Day.
Yeah. Good punting, everyone.
Good luck, everyone.